Hi, this is Melanie for Pardesi. I'm here to discuss and review a Tamil film called Theeran Adhigaaram Ondru, which starred Karthi and Rakul Preet Singh. It was directed and written by Vinoth, which I'm not sure I have ever seen. I think he's only had maybe one other film, which I have not seen. It looked like it was like a Punjab caper kind of film, his previous film. This is a police procedural thriller, and Karthi is the main policeman investigator of a gang of bandits, dacoits, who roam throughout India, and it's based on a true story. The director worked closely with the main investigative police detective in India from Tamil Nadu, who was able to finally nab the leader of this gang, so the real life gang. And the real life gang had preyed on isolated houses near a highway, and we see one of the very brutal home invasion, robbery, and murders in the opening scenes of the film. Abhimanyu Singh plays the main leader of this gang of bandits, and I've seen him in other Hindi films. He just has this intense look to his face, and when you see him bursting through the doors of a house, I mean, you're terrified, and you're terrified for the people in that room. Framing device of the story is that a police agency is going through their old files, and a cop finds this case file, and he calls Karthi to ask him about it in the present day, and then through this phone call, Karthi relates all of our story from back in the 90s. Well, I didn't completely go with the framing device. One thing that was interesting is this is not a masala film at all. So I was expecting, okay, now we're going to get the big hero's entrance, and we didn't. In fact, we just start more like a Western film would, and that we see Karthi go up through the police ranks, and we start with him in his training days. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a song montage over the title credits, but it was stunning in a way that's the way we started. We started small. That he, yes, he's a hero, but he's not a larger-than-life hero. He's a real man. He's a real man. He's not, an invincible Singham, or something. That was fascinating to me. Also, because the story, as the true life story evidently was, set back in the 90s, we don't have, it's not like Spider, the Prakashbabu, where it's all technology, and so, we barely have cell phones, for all these characters. So this is rank and file police work of matching fingerprints and looking through paper records and stuff like that. This is not about searching through computers and face recognition technology or any of that. You can see they don't have all these tools, and these police are trying to piece together the clues once they realize there's the same set of fingerprints at multiple crimes, and how can they find the culprits over the entire country of India? How can they find them? And all that they go through to track them down. So because we've gone all the way back to the police training stage, that's how we set up the love story. Obviously we're setting up Rakul Preet Singh to be a woman in peril, but those scenes were, I could have done without them, to be honest with you. They were very cute together. They had a good chemistry, but we spent a lot of time on their burgeoning romance, and I was actually more interested in the thriller part and the cat and mouse trying to find this gang part of the story. So I just thought this was a very good film. It was a good thriller. Obviously this director had done so much research, because he put in animated backstories to explain the history of this particular cast and why they became bandits, and it was fascinating to me. It was not like, oh, you should have just cut all that stuff. No, I loved all of that backstory. I loved all of the history. I loved, you know, I mean, Karthi had PowerPoint presentations to end PowerPoint presentations to all his superiors because he was explaining everything, you know, for them and explaining it to the audience then. Karthi, this is only the second film that I've seen him in. He was in Mani Ratnam's Katru Velayadai, and he was both so charming and scary and intense in that film. Well, it was Mani Ratnam, so it was, you know, it was really intense. But this was really interesting to me to see him in a more traditional role, but it was not a masala film, and I thought it was particularly well suited for him as an actor. There were parts where he's the hero and he makes mistakes, and his arrogance leads them into leads him and his group of policemen into situations that they have difficulty getting out of, you know, or they go down the wrong path and they assume that they just know what's going on and they follow the wrong lead or whatever it is. And so he was not an infallible hero like we so often see policemen being in Indian films. They are sort of like supermen, and this was more down-to-earth, real life, and I really liked that, you know, that he had to struggle to finally win the day and find the culprit. And the action scenes were pretty incredible. There was particularly one stunt sequence where there's a fight on top of a bus, and then, you know, there's people on top of another bus, and of course there's somebody stretched between them and whatever, you know. So it was particularly good, especially, it's the kind of thing we see often in Hollywood action blockbusters, but maybe not so much that kind of stunt work in every Indian film. I mean, this wasn't, you know, people just flying through the air for, you know, being hit by one punch. This was on the edge of your seat kind of action scenes. You know, you really didn't know what was going to happen because people could die, you know, so it was because it felt more real and not comic book kind of, you know, violence that you really didn't know what was going to happen. So like I said, the villain was so evil and so intense. He was fantastic. I don't understand all the shades of meaning of what it meant for their caste group to live like nomads and so forth, but it was fascinating. And seeing Theeran and all of his police force who were from Tamil Nadu, and they were out of their element as they were visiting other parts of India trying to investigate this gang of bandits. So I thought this was a particularly good film. It could have been maybe tightened up, like I said, the romance track, which normally I love, but maybe could have been tightened a little bit. But I did like the chemistry, that playful, teasing relationship that Karthi had with Rakul Preet Singh. I thought they were particularly good together. Yeah, I'll be interested to see more films from this director. I saw some other reviews saying, you know, there was too much of the data dump kind of explanations of stuff from history, but that was all a plus for me. I didn't have a problem with that, but I could see where other people were like, you know, that was too much, and if you'd cut that, it would have made the film a tighter thriller. Anyway, I'd love to know if you've also seen this Tamil film. Does Karthi speak, well, does he speak Telugu as well? Because or was it dubbed? If you saw it in the Telugu, I'd be interested to know that. I know Rakul Preet Singh is known more. I've seen her in Telugu films. So I really enjoyed this thriller, and I'm glad that I caught it on the big screen. And I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments about this film. Like I said, this is only my second film of Karthi, and I'd be interested. What are some other films that he's done that you think I should look for and seek out? If you like this video, please press that share button, like the video, subscribe here on Pardesi, and press the bell to get notifications of new videos, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Pardesi YT.